thank you very much for joining everybody today. We've got our change experts in Jonathan Leslie, Joe Battam and Ian DeSnow, all of whom are going to talk to us about their experience of SAP S/4HANA. So firstly, first question to yourself, Jonathan. Earlier this year, SAP announced that they were going to extend their support of ECC6 until 2027, which feels like an awfully long time away. Should customers be deferring starting their SAP S/4HANA programs?
Thank you, Luke. Look, in discussion with our customers, I think my observation would be as follows. You're right, 27 seems like a very long time away. The year isn't so much the thing that we need to be concerned with. What we do need to be concerned with, and our customers need to be concerned with, is a plan. It's key that, and I'm advising my SAP customers that the thing they need to come up with is a plan to upgrade, because one thing is for sure, and that is the fact that S/4HANA is the future, and we know that. SAP have told us that. That's where they're investing. That's where we need to be heading. So that is for sure, and that is something that we are talking to customers about, helping them with, and Project One can help with those strategies, but they need to have that strategy. That is the most important thing. The other thing is that in terms of SI engagement, now is a really good time to be talking to SIs in conjunction with that plan, rather than leaving it to the end of the runway towards the 27. So we would certainly recommend talk to us, engage your SIs, get going, get that plan clear, and get on with it, because 27, although it seems a long way off, isn't actually that far away. So hopefully that's clear. Thank you very much, Luke. I'm happy to take any questions. Over to you again.
Thank you very much, Jonathan. So good morning, Ian. I know you've been recently mobilizing at one of your customers a S/4HANA program. I'm just wondering if you can talk us through some of the key considerations.
Yeah, thanks, Luke. Yeah, in many respects, the migration to S4 is no different to mobilizing a conventional ERP program in terms of the components you need to think through. But I'll probably just call out three things that are probably different for S4HANA. The first one is that S4HANA is fundamentally architected as a cloud solution. More or less exactly the same product is available on premise, but it is essentially a cloud solution. So one of the first questions that we would advise to be answered is, do you want to go onto the cloud with this ERP, or do you want to retain on premise? Now, one product in isolation shouldn't be driving your cloud strategy, but it really is a fundamental question that needs to be answered right up front to know which path you're going down, on premise or cloud. And clearly there are benefits and issues with either route. Each client needs to think through what's best for them. The second component I'd think through in terms of scope is what's called, are you going to go for a brownfield migration or a greenfield? So brownfield is where you take what you've got today, all of the customization, all of the code, and bring it across. Greenfield, you say, right, we're going to go for a clean start. We're going to start with a vanilla SAP solution. We're going to change our processes and go back to simpler SAP supported processes. There's obviously a spectrum in between there, but right at the start, you've got to decide what is the strategy. There's no right and wrong answer. It depends on the nature of the business and what's right for the business. But it is quite a big issue to think through. Is do you want to retain what you've got or start afresh? And many clients are using the phrase, this is a, quote, once in a lifetime opportunity to simplify the processes, redesign the processes, and go back to a much simpler setup with SAP in your business. And probably the third one I'd consider is, especially many large companies, maybe that have got a group, maybe on SAP at the moment. And with the move to S/4HANA, it's a good opportunity to question the businesses that aren't on SAP. Is this the chance? Is this the right time to bring them on to SAP? Or is the strategy for them to remain on other applications? Thanks, Luke.
Thank you very much, Ian. And I'm sure with big programs like this, you've seen a number of mistakes made. What are the common pitfalls or dangers that customers should look to avoid?
So again, with S4, probably coming back to first one I'd highlight is the brownfield versus greenfield. So I know a number of clients set out with the lofty ambition. They're going greenfield. They're going to start, clean sweep, fresh processes. They then get into the long slog of the project, and over time, it basically iterates back to being a brownfield design. They just kind of don't, if you like, don't hold their nerve, and through all the business design workshops, you end up building back in everything that you've got today. That's a real challenge, and again, with many, same as any ERP implementation, it's all about change management, having real firm change management and having real empowered process owners who can sort of, if you like, hold the line and try and maintain that principle of greenfield as far as you possibly can. Second one I'd call out is, I think when it comes to S4, the phrase is often used as it's quote an upgrade. So it already sounds like an IT project. This is not an IT driven project. This has to be a business driven project. Clearly there are big IT components to it, but fundamentally the move to S4HANA has to be owned by the business, led by the business and driven by the business, not by IT. And finally, the question that probably the most important is, at the start when you're setting your strategy, determine what benefits you actually want to derive from S4. There's a real rich functional set within S4HANA. Unlikely that you're going to be able to deploy all of those on day one. And the key thing is to decide at the outset what are the real benefits you want to drive, what you're going to implement, and then hold to that. Stick to that principle. Don't allow the scope to creep, and equally don't allow the scope to be whittled down. But decide up front what benefits you want, and then really hold yourself to that. Thanks, Luke.
Thank you very much, Ian. Okay, good morning, Joe.
Morning.
Just wondered if you can talk us through what Project One in particular can bring to S4HANA programs.
Well, Project One can support our customers in many ways. I think, as Ian's just been talking about, what's really important and what we have experience with is guiding our customers through that strategy review. We do that completely with an independent viewpoint, because we have no commercial interest or pressure from what a solution provider or an implementation or an SI may have. We also bring strength of experience and insight across a multitude of customers because of the experience that we do bring across large SAP programs. Majority of our Project One consultants have worked for years and years in these big SI organizations, so we actually know how they work, and we can bring this experience and share this with our customers. But not only can we help, and we have helped our customers around going through this strategy review, because it is really important that people do review that horizon, in particular from an S4HANA perspective. But we also have years and years of proven senior delivery capability as well, where we've worked side by side both with our customers and with their chosen SIs to help drive and manage large SAP programs and S4HANA programs and other ERP programs to ensure that we do deliver ultimately those business objectives and business goals, as what Ian was just talking about earlier. So that for me is kind of broad support that we can bring Project One to our customers around not only the strategy side, but also the ongoing implementation and success to deliver the business outcomes.
Great, thank you, Joe. And I was just wondering if you've got a couple of little nuggets that customers may not hear from SAP themselves, or indeed from any of the big SIs.
Yeah, so from my experience and recent one, really, one thing I think is really important is to ensure there's aligned objectives between your SAP solution provider and your SI. Both are essential for delivering S4HANA. From my observations, I would encourage all our customers to spend time up front to determine the clear roles and responsibilities of both of those organisations, and also to ensure that you bring in the customer responsibilities as well, because they're generally forgotten about, or in particular not necessarily the priority of both either the solution provider or the implementation partner. They they focus on their own deliverables and responsibilities. I believe by focusing on that up front, obviously it builds a strong foundation for the success implementation of that solution. It provides that right platform for effective delivery, and ultimately what it does, it will start to minimise or at least avoid any gaps emerging further down the line, which generally materialise into either cost or timeline impacts. Also, probably another nugget is I'd probably just if it's appropriate as well, is to encourage our customers to build those aligned objectives and those clear roles and responsibilities in any contracting with both their solution provider and their SI partner. So they're probably just to kind of, from a Nuggets perspective, ultimately it's in their commercial interest to not be fully aligned. So I would absolutely encourage our customers to ensure that they do spend time up front being very clear around the roles and responsibility of those two partners.
Great, thank you very much, Joe. And if I can come back to yourself, Jonathan. So I know my current customer is in the process of consolidating a number of their SAP instances and are going through some decision making at the moment as to whether it's best to have one global instance of SAP or whether to have 2 or 3. I was wondering if you can talk me through your experience in that area.
Sure, thank you, Luke. Look, many customers, the strategy is to move to a single global instance of SAP. Other customers, the strategy is not to do that. I'll just give you a few pros and cons. So couple of pros on global single instance. There is certainly the opportunity to standardize processes across the whole organization. That can be a really powerful motivator for that. There's also the benefit of having a single master data set and the rigor with maintaining that. So again, that can be a big advantage across the organization. It simplifies it, makes it easier. Also, you get one version of the truth. Clearly, if you've got one instance, you avoid that situation where when it comes to reporting, you've got the challenge of sort of standardizing across the patch. So that's another big one. And also, I think one instance means there is a degree of rigor and discipline. It forces people to think differently, as the one system will allow things to be done in a consistent, standardized way. So again, another big advantage. And also it promotes more reliable data and easier extraction. So that's on the pro side. On the con side, getting to one instance can be quite difficult. If you're a large organization with multiple businesses or multiple ERPs, that strategy can take some time. I do have a customer who is a major oil company, and it took them over 15 years to get to that situation. So there is that element. There is the exposure element. If things go wrong, if you're on a single instance, clearly it falls over and the whole thing falls over. So that can be a challenge as well. And also the whole business change aspect to get to that can be challenging. And again, this is where Project One can come in and help with regard to strategy to achieve that. You also need, I think, stronger change control generally, but you could argue that could be a pro as well as a con. And I think if your business is in a situation where there's a lot of divesting or acquiring new businesses, perhaps a single instance isn't the way that you should go. So in summary, it depends on the business. It depends on the business strategy. And that, again, comes back to my point about having a plan. It is so important that you get your strategy in regard to SAP right. And again, this is where Project One can come and help you as a business. And that's what we do with our customers. So I'll end there. Back to you, Luke.
So I just want to say a big thank you today to yourself, Ian, Jonathan, and Joe for taking the time out to talk us through your wealth of experience on SAP S/4HANA. And if any of our customers out there, who I'm sure are considering this at the moment, would like to get in touch, please see our contact details on the screen now.
Thanks, Luke. Cheers.
Thanks, Luke.
Thank you very much, guys.
Cheers.